Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Uh, I guess I don't have to tell you what day it is or what time it is, but because you can see it right up there. Well, I yesterday I messed with trying to stream because I did it the day before. It worked great. Uh, Streaming video uh, on YouTube, and I guess I need to move that date thing. Hang on a second here. Let's see here. That's probably okay, isn't it? Anyway, using Manicam had streaming video on YouTube working good. And then the next day, I think which was yesterday, I believe, I couldn't get it to work. And was there another day involved? Anyway, I tried today and it wasn't going to work. So I fired up OBS real quick and it I just needed to spend more time with it, and I just trying it with it, you need it's like test runs and that type of stuff. Uh, Changing the subject, I don't really want to talk about family members and problems and that type of stuff, but there are some problems with my grown son who's 47 years old, and it's making things really difficult. Uh, don't really want to talk about it, but maybe it explains a few things, you know. Uh, those of you who've been following me for a long time, I'm sure you picked up on little tiny things, and you probably, a lot of you have figured it out. But I just don't think it's really fair to talk about a family member or anybody really, they're personal. But on the other hand, it sort of explains some things. So moving away from that, looks like this is going to work okay. And Manicam, uh, it's been working good for me for a long time. I've actually spent a lot of money with them, more than I should have. I owned numerous licenses when I only needed really one license. But yeah, Manicam works well. I don't think I've even put a link below to it. I think I've probably someplace in the past, but maybe I'll put a link below in case. I don't think any of you are interested, really. I think a bunch of you like OBS or something like that. I've made some changes. Well, all the time I'm making changes to the room, and because that's the only area I've got, and I've got a lot of stuff, computer stuff. I've got, you know, very few clothes and a lot of computer stuff. And so I'm trying to, always trying to, anytime I want to do something, uh, in order to find whatever it is, I have to go through everything and throw it on my bed or whatever, and then if I finally find it, then everything has to go back into the containers or wherever it is. And it's a mess here, and part of it is, and my son also will come in and, or like I've tried to keep some tools in the living room over in the corner, but he goes and gets them, puts them in his room, never puts them back. He mixes up, if it's a drill or whatever it is, the power supply is someplace and it's someplace else, and it's a problem. Uh, Maybe, I don't know really what to do. Um, I was going to say maybe get some kind of containers and lock the tools up because I've got a few tools, enough tools to do some things, but then I have to, and so I don't know. Um, I'm going to check here in a few days to see if I can find something out. Uh, the last word I had was that the apartment complex here is probably not going to renew our lease, so we will be having to find someplace to go, and that's expensive, to move, and then everybody's going to want, uh, deposits and that type of stuff, and it's just going to be really difficult. And also, the way the situation is working here in the United States is that corporations have, in the last few years, decided to buy apartment complexes, even trailer parks, things. They're buying them up, but especially apartments and that kind of stuff and then they can just charge. People have to live. You have to be someplace. And then they can just put the prices up and up and up. And if at some point, if it got where it was a problem for the corporations that are doing this kind of thing, the government would naturally step in and say, well, we have to do something, and subsidize them or do something. So the little person is getting screwed. So here in a few days, I'm going to have to ask the manager here, have you made a decision, about us? If we have to move, it's going to be because of my grown son and problems that he's caused. I mean, he's never been in prison, never been in jail, but he has some problems, and it's caused problems for the management here at the apartment complex. He hasn't hasn't broken anything, but he's caused some problems. So I'm not sure what we're going to, if we have to move. Darlene has lived here, I think, 22 years or 24 years or something. She's lived here. And then my grandson and I, we came here 12 years ago, I think it was. So she's been here, I think, about 22, and we've been here about 12. Well, my grandson then left with his mother, and so, but it's going to be a real problem if we have to, if you have to move. Right now, my son has, for the last 2 months, I think, taken his monthly shot. And, but then for a while he hasn't, taken it, and it's just a problem. And this is just the time when you don't want to be evicted, Of course, it's not going to go down, I guess, as being evicted. It's just going to be that they're not going to renew, the lease. And it's going to take us some time to find someplace, and I'm not sure we can find someplace we can really afford to go, having to come up with everything. My son he's been okay. Well, every day there's a problem, but I mean, so far as the apartment's concerned or anything like that, but still. So we're really stressed out on that. See, what else? That's only 10 minutes. Spectrum, by the way, which we left, we were with Spectrum for a long time, for internet service. That's all. I mean, before that, we had, I think, cable service, I think, from them, channels that way. But we just got, for the longest time now, for years, we've just been getting our internet service from them at a high cost, but it's been dependable. It was dependable, steady, I mean, there's a few times you have a problem or something, rather. But it's been dependable. But they're apparently doing something, and that may be their new service that they're coming out with, which is, I don't recommend Spectrum, but you have to check out what you need. But they come out with this new. Well, when I was telling them to take it and shove it, whatever, I went ballistic on them. Of all the years of being charged extremely high rates and the way everything they do, if you call in to cut back on the internet speed or to do away with HBO or what, well, we don't get those from them, but I don't know what else you would be. Well, whatever you try to do, they deliberately try to talk you out of it, try to, sell you something else. Okay, well, if you do that, or if you take away this, well then this is going to cause, this other thing is going to cause, and two, what they do is, I'm talking about Spectrum, they will put you on hold. Like, what was it? I called to cut back on something, and I can't remember now what it was, because generally we just paid them money more than we should have, but one example was when I called to, maybe that's when I've been paying, I don't even want you to know, it's embarrassing, for 1 gig down. I never got 1 gig down. Got, 500 down or something or other. So when I called for that, they tried to sell me some other, cell phone service, all this kind of stuff. And so this should have been, okay, just, cut the service, down. And so then, okay, a guy, who seemed nice. Okay, Mr. Howard, okay, now I'm just going to go and make sure we have this all, lined up. And then they put on advertising for about 15 minutes. Well, maybe he pops back once. Oh, okay, I'm working on this. Let me go up to make sure that they got this right. And then he comes back. And so you spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes listening to their advertising. And they do that every time. Even when I called to cancel the service entirely. That was the same thing, Oh, okay, well, couldn't talk you into this or, this, but okay. And then the same thing. They run, the advertisement about how great they are and ask about such and such, ask about such and such. I finally went ballistic on them this time. I mean, if I'd been there in person, they'd have called security to stand by with me because I went ballistic. But now they've come out with a new service, and it's like it's like they're copying Verizon, and of course there's others that do that type of, the box. My box is right there, and uh, they oh, so they sent these things out to the house, and their ads are appearing in everywhere, and it's a low cost for internet service, I guess it is. And I forget how much it is. It looks okay. And it's saying, I think it's 300 down, I believe. And that's okay. You can. I'm using that. I'm not using that. I'm using Verizon. But they. But then you have to take a package, which is cable, television, and what else? What is phone service or something? And they're together, and together you're going to pay like the old days. They want it like that's when I was yelling and screaming at them. I said, people are leaving you like crazy. They're cutting the cord on you, and you people are going to be running out of business. Can't you read the handwriting? And I was yelling at him, And then I could hear the manager over the phone bank, tell him, tell him this, tell him that. And I went ballistic. But what they're not giving up, see? I mean, they should have learned. And they had a whole bunch of business customers or whatever. Instead of raising prices and doing the kind of stuff they did, they're not installing new. Well, I think they are, by the way, now. And that's their new service, I think. Sort of like Verizon is doing. But then they want to keep this other stuff coming in, And what they should have done is they should have been lowering their prices and, offering you more, because they're making money. Believe me, they're making money, and they, instead of raising prices all the time, they should have been cutting prices. When we had, and that's when Darlene was living in an apartment over there, and I was living in an apartment here. Well, actually, I was living above for a while, and then moved in this 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And they, they just raised the prices all the time, and there was no reason for them to do that, because they were making plenty of money. And if they had cut prices, sure, that'd be, the corporation, CEOs and board of directors probably wouldn't have been happy, but they would have had some happy customers, and now their customers are bailing on them. And I don't think they're going to get anybody who's going to, well, they'll get somebody, but for this new service, I think people, they know, so people will just go for Verizon or something like that. And then there's another company, forget which one it is, and sort of like Verizon. But I don't think that they do cell phone service. Like, that's the thing. I think people want to sell you up for a cell phone service along with your. But the problem with this other one, and I forget which one it is, their upload speed is unbelievably bad. Download speed, good, like the rest of these. But their upload speed sucks. It's bad. So these companies just don't learn. And like I mentioned before, I don't know where we stand now, probably about the same. And that's in the world, the internet basically began here, the tech revolution and that kind of stuff, began here. And but so far as internet service, I think last I heard we were like number 22 in the world. You know, Hong Kong and places like that, are like at the top, and the United States is like number 22 because of capitalism. Now, I'm not in favor of communism. The Republicans over here made it in the past. It was like, oh, communism is bad, and it is, Now, socialism isn't bad, but to the Republicans, socialism is communism. And they pictured the struggle against the USSR as, capitalism, versus communism. And then capitalism won. The USSR, came to an end. But no, it wasn't capitalism versus, there's probably not much difference, between capitalism and communism. I guess capitalism wasn't, locking up people that didn't agree with them and, putting them in psych hospitals and medicated them and that kind of, there's some, but it wasn't capitalism versus communism. It was, freedom, democracy, versus that. But they made it. And I was carrying on about that in the way back when that was going on, telling people, people in my YouTube site, well, before YouTube, but my Howard's Notebook and everything, and saying, hey, we need to, but it didn't work because they, that worked for the Republicans, really good. Oh, communism and capitalism, and I was saying, I even talked about, well, can't we have something, some other thing for it, and everything I think that I named sound like political parties in, the UK or some other country, which that wouldn't work out, So, and two, what I pointed out, what brought communism, Ronald Reagan was president, and that's when communism came to an end, in the USSR. And I said, well, I was born in 1941, and World War II for the United States started in 1941. I was not the cause of that. And communism coming to an end when Ronald Reagan was president, that wasn't because Ronald Reagan was president. If any president is to get credit for the end of communism, it would actually be Harry Truman. The Truman Plan, the Monroe Doctrine, and those type of things. But it would actually, what I said was, it's all the presidents, down the line, all of them, and the voters in the United States who supported, these things and the Monroe Doctrine and all these kind of, all these kind of things. It wasn't Ronald Reagan. It just happened that it came to an end then. And so I wasn't to blame for World War II. But now, of course, the politics over here are so crazy, and they're still using, communism, and the Republicans, the right wing, are using communism, and still talking about kids are being molested in the basement of a pizza place or whatever, and that let's see, who's the Clinton and his wife are responsible for that. A guy even went there with a gun and fired off the gun. He went there because he was a believer in the Republican right-wing extremism or whatever. And he actually went there to save, kids that were being molested in the basement. Of course, there wasn't any kids in the basement or any kids there anywhere being molested. Thank God he didn't shoot, accidentally some kid or something, or shoot somebody that was, served pizza or whatever. So, but that's the craziness we got here now. Donald Trump, one of the things he wanted to do big time was get the United States out of NATO. That would have been disastrous for the United States, disastrous for the other NATO countries. And luckily that that didn't happen, but that would have been a disaster that if he had been able to do that. And so anyway, what's going on? Well, I guess my voice is going. I'm having trouble seeing today. That's why just a while ago I tried to get OBS, but I was having trouble seeing the screen. So, my bed is cleared off finally. Might be a good time for me to take a nap. Thank you very much for watching. If you can, click on subscribe and then click, on the thumbs up or whatever it is. And then you'll get notified when I upload something, or if it's, whatever it is, you get something to notice. And if you can use any of the links, like the Amazon links, if you go there and use the link, might put some money in my pocket, but you can go and see, by the way, I've mentioned it quite a few times, I show you on the screen, how much I make from, which is, what would it be, less than $200 a year from people clicking on Amazon. But I've got almost 4,000 subscribers, I got more viewers than that, but almost 4,000 subscribers. If 1,000 of those, or 500, if they would just make it a point, anytime you're going to buy something through Amazon, use my link, I'd probably have a little bit of extra money coming in, $200 a year or whatever that is would actually help. A lot of people that wouldn't help. Now, it wouldn't be enough though to help us find some new place to move into. So I'm hoping that the office decides to let us stay. But I can understand my son has caused some problems. And the office doesn't want any kind of problems at all. I mean, they got, this keeps them busy. The whole place keeps them busy. And so be native. I saw where, well, you've probably seen the same thing where some people are living on a cruise ship or whatever. Not exactly a cruise ship, I guess, because you rent, or you pay, you give them the money, and then you are, you travel. But I saw with somebody where they, people did that, and then for some reason I don't know if the ship needed repairs that were too expensive, they just couldn't handle it, or what it was, but the people were having to, their place on the cruise ship where they intended to live for the rest of their lives, they're having to exit, And a whole bunch of those people either, sold their house, or it's being rented out, leased out to somebody, or bed and breakfast, or whatever it is. These people have no place to live, and they were living on a cruise ship, Um, I'd I'd like something like that. I think I can't swim. I don't know if I'd get seasick or not, but anyway, thanks for watching. Ouch, my ears hurt.